Greetings, everybody. Tom Matuska here, and Brett Wingfield for the Matuska Taxidermy Studio Supply Company Thursday Live. And we're coming to you from sunny Spirit Lake, Iowa, and we've got a beautiful kind of fallish day out there. It's a little bit breezy. Fall is in the air, and all of you taxidermists out there, this is an exciting time because why does everybody get into taxidermy? They get into taxidermy because they love to hunt and fish. Which is a bad thing, because if you like to hunt and fish, you should be running your shops because other people are hunting and fishing. That's anytime we train people, you know, whatever prompted you to get into taxidermy. I love to hunt and fish, and most of you can relate to that, but it's an exciting time, and we have all different seasons opening up, and western seasons, and won't be long, the bird seasons. I think we had an early bird season open up the other day, and this is kind of our busy time where we take in, you know, a whole lot of taxidermy work to do and tag it and bag it and get ready to, you know, make some income off of these projects that, you know, we try to help you out with and show you what to do. Man, getting ready for this, it's a little bit of a hassle. We have our makeup department, and they have to do the rouge on the cheeks and the lipstick and all that kind of stuff, and then it's sucking your belly. I finally have this corset on now, and now I know why the movie stars wore corsets. You had to help lace me up, you know, just so my belly doesn't hang over my belt and stuff. Zip up my zipper, all kinds of instructions that you know, we're doing here. And so if you joined us the last 2 times, we started the Goldeneye project, and we have a hen and a Drake Goldeneye, and we started common Goldeneye, and we started making a little base. These are nothing more than kind of our fish foam, but you could use pour foam. You can make your base out of different things. We like to use foam because it makes it lightweight, and then this just has a veneer of mache. We use our rock mache to cover it. We're going to put texture in it. This is going to have some moss in it. We're going to color these rocks a nice dark color. They're going to have snow in them, maybe little weeds up on top, and some icicles. And I think they asked what we're doing next week, and I think we'll probably have the birds finished. We'll have the rock maybe painted, and we might even show you how to make an icicle mold, because we use a lot of icicles around here. Mountain goats, used to do several polar bear mounts, and we would include icicles in them, and the mountain goats with icicles, and it's just kind of a neat thing. They're easy to make, and if you make a mold, it will last you for a long time. So I think, not to jump ahead, but that's going to be next week's project, and then we'll show you how we incorporated this onto our Goldeneyes. And I think the last time we showed you how to set up the legs, we had skinned the birds, we fleshed the birds, we used the New Angle bird flesher. I think we showed you that. And these were extremely fatty birds. And whenever Corey's bodies, Wildlife Illusions bodies, are tremendous bodies to use, and they are sold by length and circumference. And Corey might differ from me, but if you have a puddle duck and it happened to be a really, you know, small mallard or something, you can use another puddle duck if the measurements line up. Does that make sense to you? It does. It does to me. It works for me anyway. And so once we skinned these birds, the skin was extremely fat. So a lot of times you're going to get your bird fleshed out, remove all the fat off the skin, have a body that you thought measured up very closely, only to find out that it swims inside of that bird skin because you had ½ inch of fat on the inside of that. Kind of like same thing with a raccoon or a beaver or anything like that. Whenever you're measuring bodies or trying to come up with put in what you took out, make sure you allow for that fat. You don't want the skin tight, but you don't want it swimming in there also. And there's different things that you can do. You can add a little cotton. You can do things like that, a little caulk to hold things in place.
How does a New England bird flesher work on turkeys?
It's too small, too low to the ground. The New Angle bird flesher, I think it's maybe a 10th horse. There's two motors, a 20th horse and a 10th horse. One you can stop with your hands, the other one not quite. But you don't, though the motor could probably do it, you don't have the distance off of the table. But we have used it very well on small geese, big ducks, little ducks, pheasants, everything. It's just kind of nice. It's not, we also have a box flesher that we built, and some session we can show you how to make a box flesher. It's a big quarter horse motor, and it spins at 1700 RPM, 24, I'm not sure what those big electric motors turn at. And you can really put a lot of pressure, and plus you have, you know, a foot of distance from the floor, so you can approach, it's all presentation of your skin to the wheel. So on turkeys and large geese, we use the big box flesher, and just to haul that around, I mean, the thing's got to weigh 50 pounds, and to see me struggle, you know, bringing that out here is kind of hard, but the little New Angle bird flesher, man, you can carry them anywhere. They're very handy to use and very quiet, so that's why we grab it for anything that we can use it for. Made by Jerry Schaefer. Jerry Schaefer, for those of you who have never heard of Jerry Schaefer, is a taxidermist out of Madison Lake, Minnesota, I believe, up by Mankato. And he used to come and show our classes. He's a little bit of an efficiency expert, a brilliant inventor, taxidermist, you know, a very accomplished person. He's getting up there in years, and I don't know how much taxidermy work he does, but he was kind of fun to have come around. Some of you may remember Jerry Schaefer.
Didn't he have a book, Taxidermy Shop?
Taxidermy Shop, in which he showed you how to make mounting stands. He had all pencil sketches. It's probably still available somewhere, but it showed you how to make mounting stands, how to make brackets for the wall, tubs to borax your birds in. He had a whole line of different sinks. Yeah, that's a good book. If you ever get a chance to get the Taxidermy Shop book, there's a little manila, run off on copy machine, if I remember right. It had a lot of good ideas in it, a lot of good ideas. So last week we showed you how to set these birds up, and this is one of Corey's bodies. We don't use the femur on most of our bird mounts. We have it, depends on the pose, but typically Corey's birds have a slot. This is a standing bird body, and it has a slot where your tibia will lay. So we wired that, and these legs will pull off and go right back on. And I think I have 14 gauge wire on this one, and you know, look how sturdy it is. It's a very sturdy bird. And we like to set them up like this. We built the neck out of foam neck material. You have some there. And there's a lot of different ways of building necks, but we usually like to make a trachea as well as the neck. You could do it with one. I mean, the only way anybody's ever going to know if you use one piece or put the trachea on is if they actually felt of it. We typically do, just to replicate realism as good as we can. And so we like to have a Wildlife Illusions head. We drilled it out in the back, glued the wire up in with auto body putty. And you can use, Corey uses hot glue. My problem with hot glue is I'm forever bending the neck head union because I think he'd look good looking a little to the right, a little bit to the left. So I'm moving things, and as you do that, friction warms up that wire, and the wire pops out, and then the head is hanging, dangling at the end. So I like it on there nice and secure. You did that hand, and you put the head on last, glued it on last, and you left the neck attached to the body. Now you can do the opposite too. You can use the head, neck, keep that together, and attach that to the body inside of the bird. So there's different ways to do that.
We have a question from Chris Thompson on YouTube, and he is wondering if you can freeze any bird hides before fleshing.
All of ours are ours are frozen on the bird. Yeah, sure you can. Here again, somebody may dispute what I tell you. All of our birds come in, sometimes fresh, but a lot of times frozen. We typically don't have time to skin them out at that time, so we will just bag them, make sure they're tagged. That's something else coming into this season. All of you make sure that you have your legal federal tags. They don't have to be federal tags purchased from the federal government. They don't have tags, but make sure you have a tag that covers all the bases: name, address, date of kill, number of, species, all that sort of thing. Make sure that every tag is in your bag with your bird. They want it.
Part.
Yep, every part. And so anyway, our birds go into the freezer. Then when it's time to mount the bird, like the Goldeneyes, we got these Goldeneyes out and we skinned them, fleshed them. The weekend came along, we put them back in a bag, put them back in the freezer with the tag, same tag. So yeah, we do freeze the bird skins and get by quite well.
We did a cold water bath. I don't know if that helps, but we had done a cold water bath just to get any blood out. And I think that moisture against the skin, if you were going to leave it in very long, I'd probably wash them just so they don't freeze or burn.
There's a taxidermist up in Jackson who kind of showed me a good trick. And what he did, every time a bird came in, he thawed it immediately if it wasn't thawed. He rough skinned it, and by rough skinned it I mean he didn't flesh it or anything like that. And then he soaked that entire skin in a sink of water until it was, all the oils have absorbed the water. And then it was taken out, drained, put in a bag, and he was able, not that you want to keep birds 10 years, he was able to keep birds 10, 15 years, and because they were frozen in water, they store forever, and they thaw out just fine. So, anyway, yes, in answer to your question, your long answer to your short question, but we do freeze bird skins. Then, I think you showed them how last week to inject the feet.
Yep, we injected that one or this one. One of them.
One of them. And you have three methods of treating the feet. One is to do nothing. And a lot of people say, I've never injected my feet, and they look just fine. They will look fine. They won't look as good as they will if you inject them, and they won't look as good as they would if you cast them. So to do nothing, that's option one. To do the next best thing is to inject them, and we used, if you look back last week, a syringe like this. You used a 20 gauge needle, I think.
Yep.
20 or 22 gauge needle, and I think they call it a lure lock, that's all we carry anymore, but it screws onto the syringe. And the reason that's important is as you're injecting we use a 2-part urethane to inject our Master's blend, and as you're injecting that into the foot, if that needle blows out, it either goes, hear me now?
It's muffled.
It's my dewlap. How's this? Anyway, it went back. As you're pushing a lot of pressure on there, if it blows off, it's going to go all over the plumage, and that's why we like to set them up like this, because we don't have the plumage sitting around.
Yes.
So anyway, get the lure lock so it screws in really, really well.
And that's just, you're talking about the needle screwing onto the end of the syringe.
Mm-hmm. I think most of the needles will do it. You just need the special collar.
Yeah.
And now that's screwed on, and it can't blow off. Any of you that injected a lot of birds with friction fit needles and syringes will really appreciate these. I don't think there's any difference, additional cost or anything like that. Now, when you inject feet, I think we showed you how we like to inject air alongside the toenail, and you will see the air travel all the way up the foot. And before we did that, we stuck the wire in. We tied the wire with thread, tied it around the top of the foot, and then we also super glued around there a little bit to keep any fluid from running out the top. Then we injected air in there, and you'll see the air travel all the way up each toe. Get all of the toes. Be careful on your big geese, mallards that have a big fatty foot, real fleshy foot, because you can force air bubbles into the webbing too, so be careful of that. But you want to break that tissue all loose, and that will allow a space for your master's blend to go in. And there's different kind of injection fluids. We like the master's blend is like an epoxy. It hardens up, and it gives you, how long would you say?
Oh, I'd say you've got 3 minutes, three and a half, before it's starting to thicken. And then I'd make sure I'm done within 4.
So with experience, you'll probably use up 2 needles, won't you?
Yeah, you should be able to get it done in 2.
Having never done it before, and you're going to be unsure of where to do, you may go through a 6-pack of needles, you know. But with a little bit of experience, it will take a couple of needles because it's going to harden in here, and I've never found a way to clean them out very good. There are some of the solvent-based, the mineral spirits, the formalin-type injection materials. Those you can use your needles over and over. But as far as the epoxy style, you're gonna go through a couple needles, 2, 3, 4 needles.
Yeah. And then we actually came back and re-injected the feet.
And we always like to check them the next day, because if there's fluid in here, juices from the foot, sometimes you might have a cold foot and it inhibits that epoxy from setting. So you came in the next day and you felt of them and you had a couple weak spots and you were able to re-inject. You injected air again, I think, right?
Yeah, I did do air, and then just wrapped them in a paper towel with water just for a little while. Make sure that there's moisture in the skin to stretch.
So even though you injected them once and it felt really, really good, come back the next day and just double check them and feel them.
If you inject too much, is there a way to correct it?
Maybe stick the needle in and suck it out. I'm not sure.
I don't think after it sets it'd be very easy to.
What I have done before, if I got it in the toe itself, you can squeeze it and work it up the toe. But if it gets into the webbing, you're almost forced to make a cut maybe on the bottom side of the foot and let it drain out of there.
Yeah.
And the first couple times I ever did that, I was pretty surprised that was able to happen, but that webbing will actually delaminate a little bit. So go easy. As long as it's going in nice and smoothly and consistently, you're not going to have a problem. It's when you really start forcing it and it doesn't want to go, and all of a sudden it'll force a blister into your webbing. So practice. You're just going to want to practice, and if you want to, get yourself some bird feet that aren't critical. Practice bird feet, or a bird that maybe the feet aren't going to show as much, and practice a little bit before you do it on the that real trophy bird. The other method would be to make a mold of these feet in this pose and make an artificial foot. And someday that would be a good live presentation too if we show you. We do a lot of molding around here, and we would make a mold out of silicone rubber or alginate, more likely silicone rubber, and then pour a urethane foot. And you can heat those up and you can shape them a little bit, and you have to have a perfect foot to start with because you don't want to make a mold of anything bad or not perfect or shrunk up. So you get a good foot to work with, and then you can pose it and make a mold out of it. So the head's done, and that head, now he's all set up and he'll go right down into his little rock. That head will pull off just like that.
Oh yeah.
The feet, now notice the feet are just stuck, but that big heavy wire held down here, that holds it really sturdy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have, now we used to, when I mounted a bird, I would always snip these to the right length, and I'd take my little side cutters up in there, and I'd double them over, and I'd pound them in, get them pounded in. lately I've been, if you hit the right angle, that's awful sturdy mount, just like this. Snip those off so they don't come through the back of the bird.
You're taking them all apart.
And like I said, my method of mounting, other people do it considerably more efficiently. I don't have a very long attention span, so if I can break him down into bite-sized pieces, I do a lot better.
Yeah.
Because I can do a feet one day as good as anybody. I have no problem doing a foot, but doing a foot and a tail and the head and the bill and the body and set the wings in their pocket and stuff like that all in one day overwhelms me. So I like to break them down into, just like we do turkeys, and kind of like so. So now, the beauty of this method is the bill's all painted,
Yeah.
all done. Nothing to do with that bill yet anymore. The feet, if you paint them now, you never have to come back and finish your feet.
I think that's one of the nicest things, not having to paint around that little edge of feathers and then risk getting paint on your feathers and then coming back and trying to get paint out of the feathers and then getting it off of the foot. And
All of my, before we got to this method, all of my previous bird work, you don't have to look very hard to see orange paint up here, yellow paint up here, because I was trying to airbrush, and we would make little, what'd they call them? There's a word for what goes around the legs, like not a frisket, but there's a little funnel of paper that you put around there. Somebody used to sell those. And you tape it, and then when you take the tape off, the feathers come with the tape. I have nothing, I can paint around the bird's foot and nothing's gonna happen here. Now, your favorite painting technique is what you're gonna do here. You're gonna get a good picture. We've got some good Goldeneye foot pictures here. Paint what you see. You can airbrush them. You can oil paint them. Whatever you're comfortable doing. Today, we're gonna show you, and on that hand, we use pan pastels, and I guess if I had to describe them, is they're powder paint. It's like makeup. And we have people all the time call and they say, I ordered some pan pastels and I don't know how to use them. And you laugh at this, but I always say, ask them if they're married, or, do you have a girlfriend or a wife, because give these to her, tell her what you're trying to accomplish, because women work, is it okay to say that? Mm-hmm. Women work with this stuff all the time. They put it on their cheeks, they put it on their eyes, they put it all over the place, only theirs says Revlon and ours says pan pastels. It's very, very similar, and women know how to blend colors.
Nowadays, everybody knows how to use them, not just women.
Really?
Yeah, just saying.
Really?
Yeah. Continue.
So anyway, I like to, now if I were painting with my airbrush, I like to start out with a solid color, because as this foot dries, and the Master's Blend, we have two colors. We have a gray color, we call it diver gray, and we have a fleshy flesh color.
Yep.
And it lightens up this foot. If we didn't inject the flesh color in here, that foot would have dried down very, very dark, and it'd be about the color of the webbing. But because we injected the flesh, puddled up flesh, it kept this foot really nice and light. But even though it kept it nice and light, we do have some big darker streaks up here. Sometimes there'll be blood in your foot that, just dried. So I like to make them all a even color before I start painting. Do you want it?
Sure. And they could do that with any method, couldn't they?
Now this is, you do it how you'd like to do it, because I do it different.
Oh, no. I'm not sure how we're going to do this, but we're going to get through it. I think, and you had used on this hen, you used this lighter based, what would we call that? That is Dairlid yellow tint. And that's just a real creamy, soft yellow color. And that's what you used as your undertone, isn't it?
I did, just because I wanted to even it up into
Yep.
the same value all over.
And that's just going from reference. We're gonna go to a nice bright orangey yellow foot. So we're gonna wanna have something to start with that's gonna be light in color.
How many different colors of pan pastels are there? There's a lot.
There's a lot, and we've added a lot more than what's in the catalog.
Is there 60?
I had to
So
count one more.
I'm gonna show
I think
you
we added
here.
40 new.
40 new.
40 new.
Now you can use, it doesn't matter what you use, you're using a little applicator that you can get little packets of these applicators that work really well.
They come with our 10-piece kit, I think.
Here's another
Variety of them.
kind. You can use Q-tips. There's no rule, there might be rules, but there's no rules to how you put it on to me. Is it working?
It is. It's going on very nice.
The best thing about these is you can't wreck anything. If you don't like that, take your finger and wipe it off. And it will wipe right off until we're ready to make it permanent. Here's another little applicator. They come in a little pack like that. And they come with,
Right for Brett.
come with little foam
Oh, yeah.
things.
So I've got one here. That. And those are replaceable.
Yeah.
These are not.
You throw these away, save the
One
handle.
with the handle.
Basically, we're saving you from going to the makeup aisle.
That's true.
And having
That's
to
very
explain
true.
something later.
And that's embarrassing, let me tell you.
I know somebody that's had to do that before.
Remember when you guys had to go get Nair for the bear?
We have bought Nair.
Zima.
That's when you want to go to the self-checkout, let me tell you.
Before we had the pan pastels, I had been down the makeup aisle a time or two at 11 o'clock at night and get some funny looks.
What were you getting?
You just gotta own it.
You do. You just gotta own it. I was getting colors to paint my fish with. And you made a video of this, didn't you?
We do have a video, and you condensed it into so you don't have to watch for, this is not as fast as airbrushing. It's kind of a little scarier way, for people who are scared to use an airbrush, I guess I'd say, but it's not quite as fast. And we did make a video the other day, and I think you condensed it down to a little 3-minute segment when we painted these guys.
How do you clean the applicator pads?
I think you could wash them just fine.
We also sell replacement ones.
And they're
from-
cheap. They're cheap.
Yeah.
There's 10-pack replacement all the way to 40 and assorted.
I would almost say
Throw 'em.
that they're intended to be disposable. You can probably replace them. What I like to do, especially with our little micro applicators, I just throw them in a cup. This doesn't dry. So as long as you're not mixing colors with the same one, I put these in a little cup and we use them over and over and over again. They'll eventually get a little bit frayed and frazzled, and then you just throw them away. But they're not necessarily just a one-time use.
If you get these and if you start doing what Brett's doing here, you will think it's so much fun that you can't quit. You start seeing results and you start getting a little bit excited, and it can be very, very fun, and there's no danger of ruining them because you didn't get paint to clog up all the little segments in the feet and things like that.
Now, I've kind of got a base. What would you do next?
I'd start with yellow, I guess.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Sure.
Did you
I have to sneak
seal?
away. Thank
Oh.
you, Jay Cottrell, for the t-shirt.
Oh, gosh, look at that t-shirt.
Yes,
Taxidermy
that's right. I
from
forgot.
Kentucky. Thank you. We love it.
Yeah.
But I am out. Have a great day. Don't forget, Caitlin, to say stay tuned for a sale Monday. And have a great Labor Day, everybody.
Bye, thank you for helping us set up. Okay, now we just put the light color on for a base, and now we're gonna go, I'm gonna do a yellow, and I'm gonna do ever so light of a yellow to start with until I see what it's doing. Once I see what it's doing, I may add a little bit more, or I may wipe off what I did. I'm just gonna use the same applicator.
Do you want to give it a shot of fixative between?
I can do that.
If your colors, if this yellow wasn't covering up your darks enough, you can do multiple layers of the same color, and it will get more covering if you seal it in between. So if you seal it now.
And this is a Krylon product, and now, if there's any chance that you're gonna wipe that off, don't seal it, or it's gonna take, probably lacquer thinner to get it off.
But the nice thing about the fixative is it dries super fast. Really, really quick shot. It will lock in your powder, and it's almost instantly dry if you don't overdo it. Just a nice little light shot like Tom's giving it, and that will lock it in
Now,
place.
I probably would go with a little more of the ivory, just a little. And this is like a second coat. And you can use a paintbrush, you can use a Q-tip. When we did the hand the other day, we used an actual paintbrush. When I started playing with these, I got kind of excited because the light color sticks down in all of the cracks of those little cells, like turkey feet or pheasant feet have that light line in there. And we always gave them what's that stain, pickling white? We'd always give them a thin pickling white wash afterwards to get those cracks to take up the light color. And this stuff does a good job of that. Okay. Now you can keep building up your intensity of whatever color you're using just by putting a coat on, sealing it, another coat on, sealing it. Now, I don't know how strong my yellow is going to be to start with, so I'm going to do a little on the paper. Now we're getting it. But anybody can do this. It's very, very, very easy. Now, I got some pretty hot yellow right here. I can wipe that down with my finger to tone it down, or I can come back and put some of my little ivory color back on there. And this blends almost like oil paints. I like using, even a paintbrush works great. Nope, not that paintbrush, though. And you're just blending colors, just like now I got some pretty hot yellow going there, a little too bright for me. I'm just going to take some of my ivory and mix it right in.
And I'm sure we've told them several times before, and Kate's got a good close-up. You can almost see these are going on as a powder. These aren't a wet material, so you can see even in the camera view, there's just a little bit of almost dust from them, which is what's making it so versatile. The powders blend so nice.
And we've done, I think one of the kits we have is a cat kit, is that right? Mm-hmm. Kit Kat, is that candy bar? It's a cat kit for noses, pads, and it's got some oranges and fleshes on it, and we've done some nice bobcat noses.
And any of you guys are mammal painters, mammal mounters, holy cow, that's a very complicated and difficult fine detail to do. But the pan pastels really seem to be tailored to those flesh tones and that nice soft look of a mountain lion or a bobcat.
And how about fish? Have you used them on fish?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Really like it with fish. There's some neat stuff you can do with your pan pastels to build layers and depth. That's probably the first place we played with it. But now we use it. Open mouth work, for open mouth mammals works really well.
And you might not like it right off the bat.
I don't know anybody that doesn't, but eventually, if you don't, you might come around. The pan pastels are a neat tool to your kit. They're not necessarily, Tom's going to have this, I think you painted this completely with pan pastels, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you can use them as your sole tool if you don't have an airbrush or you don't have other means that you're trying to use. But
What's a sole tool?
it goes for your shoe.
That's
It might be the only tool in your box.
That's pretty
or
quick.
It might be just one of the tools that you use in rebuilding color. We use it along with an airbrush an awful lot. They're very compatible. As long as your sealer is compatible with the airbrush methods that you're using, you can use pan pastels in small amounts to create detail on about anything.
Now, one thing I like to do, and I do it no matter what kind of paint I was using, but I like to put a little red in here. I like red on stuff. But by taking a tiny bit of red, use it like rouge, and I'm going to put it on the length of his shaft of his foot here, just a little. I mean, if I don't see it, I may dip again, but it's going to be very, very faint. And it's going to simulate blood and life under that tarsus. And you can put it down the meaty part of the toe. And I might come back and do this again. Now, when I'm putting the red onto the yellow, I'm actually ending up with a little bit of orange. Red and yellow are going to make him a little orange. But I'm also going to, on this drake, I'm going to try to warm up his feet a little bit with some orange too.
And worth mentioning, it's nice to have a really good quality reference photo when you're doing any of these paint jobs. So we've downloaded a few, just found some online, but there are some great reference pictures. Get a good reference and get as much detail as you can, because the pan pastels will let you build as much detail as you can see.
And we do have a pretty good selection of waterfowl
We do.
CDs.
Yeah. And they can print any of those pictures and have them right in front of them if they want.
Any of those CDs, I mean, we have everything from warthogs to wildebeest to animals I've never seen in my life, and most of those CD kits have, 60 or 150 even some high quality, high resolution images, and you can run them off. You can make posters out of them, and they're going to be very clear. Anyway, this is kind of how we do the whole foot. And when you're not quite sure, but you think you got something going, go ahead and dust them a little bit. If you think you have got a little bit too much color somewhere, you can go ahead and take your ivory and start over, or if you think you need a little bit more, do your yellow and just keep adding colors. I have even taken, say I want that orange, but I need it a little brighter than orange. How about if you take a little yellow on the paper and a little orange with it, and you can warm it up.
So you're mixing the two powders on the paper to give yourself another color.
I was kind of demonstrating a little bit of that. I typically will do it on the bird's foot. But he's coming along kind of
Yeah.
pretty decent here. And because it's not, when you spray with an airbrush, you get a solid, I mean, it goes down in the cracks, it goes everywhere unless you're really good at angle spraying. And because I'm kind of skipping over the top and it's not saturating everything, you get a lot softer look, and it's kind of a nice looking bird.
That makes for a really, really nice foot.
Not bad, is
Nice
it?
foot. And it's easy, and you can do it by taking your feet off. You can do this as many times as you want to. You're not going to run into the feathers. Now, once you get it painted, do you seal your feet?
I guess my thinking, what I would do is I would seal it with the fixative, and you can use matte spray if you'd like to, but if you use the matte spray, we found that during humid times, it comes out like white. So you'll spray your foot and it's white, and you'll immediately look at your matte, crystal clear matte spray, and you go, what the heck? And it's because you trap moisture in there. So we found shaking it up is very helpful, but we also found that by using the fixative first, the matte spray didn't turn it so white, so that was pretty helpful. Now I still have the webbing to do, but that's going to be a darker color. But anybody can do this. This is like super easy to do, and it's almost foolproof. If you don't like it, take a little brush and brush it all off and start over. But I mean, couple strokes with the brush, you don't like it, wipe it off. Just make sure that before you put them all together, that you seal it very, very good.
Yes. Yeah.
And as far as the bill and things, another thing that we seal them with sometimes is Mod Podge matte. I like Mod Podge matte. I thin it a little bit, so just thick enough so it doesn't bead up on the bill. But that gives, I think that gives an awful nice, realistic, soft look.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would work too for your feet if you wanted to.
Now, I saw you over there holding another product that is pretty handy for what we're doing. This little hand, now in the past we've always taken two sharp wires and we skewed them down on, and we wrecked the wings trying to get them down on, and we had to reset the wings. And then what if you have to paint feet? You got to take it off to paint feet. Show them what you did there. This is a great idea.
Well, this was your idea from this morning.
That was a great idea.
Trying to decide how we were going to put it on. We wanted to be able to take it off. And this is the square stock. I think we showed you this, a few weeks back when we were doing fish heads. But this is another great little application for it. We don't have a wire that goes all the way down in the foot. You can see underneath this foot, we don't have a wire. So there's no stability out from that. The 1 foot in the back, we were afraid we'd have something that would spin too much. So we just used, and since she was just put together today, I'm going to be kind of careful not to mess it up. But if you look underneath.
So you have the brass female portion down in the rock,
Yeah.
and then this, I think I saw you sharpen it on the sander,
Yep.
and that went up into the bird.
Yep.
And now she will slide on and off. She won't fall off the rock. If we ever do want to, and we probably will before we give it to the customer, glue it maybe.
Yeah.
We'll probably glue it and slide her down on there with a little bit of epoxy.
Yeah. And she indexes right where she's supposed to go. She's not going to spin or turn. She'll just go right down on there, just like that.
And because the feet are painted and sealed, the bill's painted and sealed, I don't see any pins or anything that we have to get out of there. She's 100% done.
Basically done, yeah.
There's no finish work.
No, with all of the things that we've done to make that happen, we don't have to worry about coming back and painting anything.
So we have a joke from Brad Colson.
Uh-oh.
He says, a duck walks into a store to buy some chapstick. The guy behind the counter says, that'll be $1. The duck said, just put it on my bill.
Any of you want some entertainment, you need to send Brad Colson a friend request because he has some of the quippiest things that you will be privy to. You'll appreciate that one.
Facebook is going to blow up.
Brad Colson, Ankeny, Iowa. Colson Taxidermy Studio. Thank you, Brad. That was good. I liked it.
That's funny.
But no finish work. She's done other than gluing her down. Now next week, we hope to have this rock finished for you. We're going to have it painted. A lot of different ways you can paint it. You probably all have your favorite painting techniques. We've used everything from tempera paints. We use a lot of house paints, Createx paints, whatever you want. We'll dress it up, try to paint them as realistically, pan pastels.
We did that.
Realistically as you can. We'll maybe, do a little moss and make it look kind of natural. But then we're gonna, I think, show you, unless something changes, we'll show you how to make a really nice icicle mold, something you can use over and over and over to make some of the most realistic icicle molds, icicles you'll ever see out of your mold.
I might not be here next week.
Oh, you might not. I have to do it by myself. Oh, that'd be scary. I don't know if I can do that. And what's our giveaway this week?
So we are giving away the 5-piece bird pan pastel kit. And so it's...
Oh, it's got applicators in it. Look at that.
Yeah.
But don't worry if you don't have an applicator handy. A brush works good. Q-tips work good. Your finger works good. And most of the kits come with them. Micro applicators. These little guys are very handy for detail work. They come in a couple different head sizes. These are like miniature little Q-tips. You can use them over and over, and like you said, you save them when you're using different colors. I've seen you had a whole little vial of them over there that have been used. You don't throw them away, do you?
No. Started out throwing them away every time we used them and then realized, hey, this didn't dry out or anything. Maybe we can use it again, and you really can. And the nice thing about the micro applicators is they're a microfiber. They're not like the cotton Q-tips.
That leaves residue.
Yeah, they're not going to leave.
When I was painting the hen's feet, I had a piece of cotton on there and I sealed it, and I had a bugger of a time getting the cotton off. And who's going to win these?
So the winner, I'm going to pull it up onto the screen, is Dan Singus.
Dan, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's fancy.
And that's what's the value of that? That's
I believe it's 32.
Spendy one, isn't it?
Yeah, they're very
The
nice giveaway.
The only thing I will recommend, Dan, is if you place an order, and we're going to send you these, order the lids, because one is screwed into the other end of the other, so when you take them apart, you only have one lid. I think the top one only has a lid. So if you buy the kits, the lids are like almost nothing. These cost nothing, but they're awful nice to have because then you can cap them all individually.
Yeah.
All right, and so
how did he win that, by the way? Did we tell him?
So in order to win our weekly giveaways, you will need to share this video by Thursday at noon. So if you come back and watch it next Wednesday, you can still share it and like it and be entered into our giveaway. But so Dan won this week's giveaway because he shared and liked last week's video's giveaway. So it's super easy. The giveaway is always geared towards what we're talking about, and it's a nice addition to have.
Good job.
Bonus, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, next week we should have this mounted. The Drake mounted, I think. He's got half of a foot painted.
We'll paint the other foot too.
And when he's done, that's going to be sealed. The bird will get mounted. Bill's painted, feet are done, nothing left to do except base work.
Yep, we can take them off.
And we can take 'em off.
easily, Set them aside on a piece of foam. or
Anytime we
something.
do our bases, we want whether it's a bear or a fish or a bird, we like to take them up and off and get them out of the way when we're painting and doing all our glue work and things like that.
And
So-
it looks like Dan he says, thanks guys, he has ducks waiting to paint.
Oh,
So
good, you're gonna like them.
perfect.
You're gonna like them.
Perfect fate. So, and then we have Lori Bill who is asking about our sale on Monday, and our sale is going to be 20% off all pan pastel singles and all pan pastel kits. So that includes
wow.
our 5-piece kits and our 10-piece kits. So that will be a really good deal to take advantage of, and that is Monday. So that'll be available for 24 hours starting at midnight, I guess, Monday.
Labor Day?
Labor Day. So, yep, so until midnight that night, 20% off, and we'll be posting more about that, sending out a sale email, so just keep your eyes open for that. And then we will also have our 15% off Facebook Live products that were used in tonight's live, and that is active from right now until tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. And that code is FBOOK15, and that's 15% off all products used tonight. So,
Good job.
yeah.
Thanks a lot for joining us.